Hey everybody, welcome to another Pop's Perspective. So I was preparing for a class that I was teaching at the university, and the class was about diversity. And I ran across these ideas that I thought were really interesting. And that is that when you are working with students as a teacher, you are both a mirror and a window. A mirror and a window. And I thought, this idea would be something not just good for teachers to understand, but for people who are going to be visiting family over the holidays, and particularly, if you're interacting with young children, grandchildren, that these ideas of being a window and a mirror can be really helpful. Well, let's talk about that a little bit and think about how you might participate in that. The first is a mirror, and that is that you get to reflect to the children who they are. You know their history, you know their parents' history, you know your own history as it relates to that. So you can help these children, these kids, even older kids, to understand who they are, where they came from, what things their families accomplished, what things their families struggled with. I know some people can go way back in terms of their family history, in terms of understanding how people came to the U.S. in the first place. So that's the first thing, is that idea of a mirror. And through the idea of a mirror, you kind of help a child, help a person to understand who they are, potentially understand how they came to be the person that they are. I remember with Josh, for example, when he was in like junior high school, I got this grant one time and I was able to have a bunch of video equipment that I brought home. And he kind of started to play with the video equipment, and I don't know, I think maybe 20 years later, 20 or more years later, he's now this incredible video expert. So there are these kind of things that you share with people and they come to realize, oh, that's where that came from. That's why potentially I feel the way I do. And it could be anything. It could even be foods. Where did I learn to love a particular kind of food? Well, it was because my grandmother cooked this thing that I learned this. And just as an aside, I always tell my students, when you're home over the holidays, grab particularly your grandmother, but maybe your grandfather, and ask for their recipes, right? Because when those people are gone, those recipes are gone. So the first thing is a mirror. You're holding up a mirror to a child or to a person and helping them to understand who they are, which I think is really cool. But then the second part is that you are also a window. All of you in your family, but you particularly, because I'm talking about people who are listening to this, you are a window that helps people to see the world, helps people to understand the world potentially differently. Why is it that some people think the way they do about things? Well, you can help people to understand. And you can even just help them understand different perspectives on the world or on life. I know one of the things for myself that helps me to provide this idea of a window is all the traveling that I've done, particularly traveling with Josh. And when I share these experiences with younger people about the different places that we've been, that also, once again, opens their mind that there are places outside of the places that they're used to being that they can visit, and it'll cause them to understand a whole lot of things. I found this for myself through travel, is I find that people in the world are the same, basically everywhere, independent of where you are. And those kinds of things, that kind of a window that you can provide to the world is incredibly powerful to younger people. All these kinds of things of kind of a window on difference are really brilliant to share with young people, children, because it opens their minds to a variety of different things that they potentially wouldn't get. And it's particularly important to do this, I think, over the holidays, because, you kind of in passing in a busy life, you talk to somebody for a minute and whatever, family members for a minute. But the thing that happens when you're in the holidays is that you're sitting down with, your great aunt that you see once a year, and you have a conversation with that person for an hour. And the things you find out about who you are and about your family are brilliant things. And they give the person you're talking to not only this perspective, this mirror of themselves, but also a view of the greater world and why the family is the way they are and how people develop the way they are. So anyway, that's something I was just thinking. I thought it might be helpful, particularly when we think about joining together with our families over the holidays. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you found this interesting, and I hope I see you on the next video.